New runes will be coming to the PBE tomorrow, which is Tuesday. At the time I'm recording this video, it is September 25th or the 25th of September, whatever part of the world you live in that says whatever. And as such, on Tuesday, which is usually when a new patch cycle starts anyway, the new runes and mastery systems will be there. So if you have a PBE account like I do, you'll be able to mess around with this more tomorrow. On top of that, they announced that they're going to be reopening the ability to apply for a PBE account in October, which is in about a week, 7 days from now or so, when it hits October. And as such, more people will be able to jump on the PBE or apply for accounts to be able to test out these new runes and masteries. Now, granted, one of the things to note is that even though it's hitting the PBE tomorrow, it won't be going live in 2 weeks like usually stuff does on the PBE. The reason why they're doing it this early is because they want as much time as possible to balance champions and these new runes and masteries before it actually hits the preseason, which won't actually be until November. And as such, is part of why they're opening PBE accounts again, so they can get a lot more playtesters and people testing this out on the PBE before it hits live. And then that way, there's still probably be some things that need to be balanced at that point, because preseason's always crazy, but at the same time, then they'll have a lot more people like just kind of giving feedback and stuff, so that way they can be maybe closer to balance than they would be. Furthermore, if you're someone like me and you can't actually still get to these things until the PBE tomorrow, why I'm making this video, and at least this part of this video, is if you're a subscriber or even a not subscriber but you found this video and there's something certain you wanted to see me test out on the PBE for you, because maybe you don't have a PBE account, hit me up in the comments down below with, hey, could you see what such and such looks like on X champion? And as such, when I make tomorrow's video, when I finally do be able to get my hands on this on the PBE, I can in fact do that, and you maybe, if you're like a visual learner, can get more of an idea of what that looks like on the Rift, like in video form. Because they did do a stream earlier today. It was at 12 p.m. West Coast time, which is about 3 p.m. East Coast time. A lot of people might have been at school, work, college, something like that, so they didn't get the opportunity to watch it live. There is probably a VOD for it because it was done on Twitch, and when they do stuff on Twitch, they tend to have the VOD for it. If it is up when I'm in editing, I'll go and put that in the description down below if you want to watch that. It was about 2 hours, so grab some popcorn. You're going to be there in a minute. But one of the things about this is they went over what some of those look like in-game as well. For example, Comet. The Ziggs that was in the game, he took Comet. When he threw an attack and it hit, he also hurled what pretty much was a comet at the enemy Cassiopeia, and it is dodgeable. Because one of the things I was wondering when I watched this stream was, were certain things like that set in stone? Were they like a certain way? Were they like a point and click, home in on no matter what? Could you avoid certain things? And it looks like for certain masteries and certain runes, the rune corners that came out weren't bad, but just having more of a visual of it gave it a bit more perspective about what these do on live or in game anyways. Because one of the things about this I want to mention is you can in fact change your runes and masteries in champion select. It took me forever to get to that point, I'm sorry, but yeah, one of the biggest questions I would see besides what I just said about the clarity of it was, can you change these runes and masteries in champion select? And you can, kind of like masteries, you can do that right now live. You can also preset your rune pages if you want to. If you don't want to bother with that in Champ Select, you're just kind of like, hey, this champion does AD, I just want this page, then that's fine too. But if you're someone that's like, oh, I see a certain matchup and I want to change a couple things about my runes and mastery page, it's not set in stone locked in, and you will have the option to be able to change stuff around for matchups and for stuff like that that you might see and you're like, hey, I don't want this actually, I actually want this instead. You're free to do that. One of the things I also want to mention is that if you don't want to do that, or you just are like, it's overwhelming because there's a lot of new stuff, all champions in the game will also have default runes and mastery pages that will be applied to them that you can then mess around with afterward. But in which case, if you're like, I'm playing AD carry and I really don't have any idea what's good on the AD carry with these new runes and mastery pages, there will just be a default runes and mastery page that will be applied to that champion, in which case then you could just play with that instead until you get an idea of what these new runes and masteries actually do, and then you can change things around accordingly if something doesn't match your playstyle, or if the thing matches your playstyle 100% and you're actually just fine with that. Another thing I want to mention about this is they are planning on changing basically every champion's base stats one way or another in this game. And for example, a reason for that would be some AP champions took magic penetration runes, and those will not exist anymore, so as such it will be kind of harder for those champions, especially if they relied on those kinds of runes, to do their job, at least early game, maybe even mid game, maybe even late game. So across the board they might be wiping down magic resist and how it scales on champions. Now as an AD carry player, I'm a little skeptic, of course, because AD carries for the longest, part of their weakness was they didn't scale any magic resist at all. It was up to you to take runes and masteries to have any outside of items that you bought. Those won't exist, so it'll just be up to items that you buy. And now recently they did add some scaling magic resist to AD carries, but it was like literally nothing in the grand scheme of things. You're still gonna die to, you know, a lot of stuff. And now you won't have runes and masteries to maybe add some extra there. So I wonder if that's actually going to be, like, I feel like that kind of trades off, but they mentioned that they will be possibly changing that anyway, so maybe there's something I'm just being biased and overlooking, but it looks like there's a chance magic resist is a stat that might get reduced on every champion to help out AP users. As an example, there's other stuff that might change too, health scaling, you know, damage per level, all kinds of different base stats, and on every champion in the game. So whatever champion you play, they're most likely getting some sort of base stats change. That's not necessarily mean they're getting the base stat nerfed either. They might be getting the base stat buffed in compensation for missing something. But that's just something I wanted to note, because those are going to be gone on both sides of the coin. The magic penetration runes are going to be gone for AP users, and the like magic scaling or magic just resist glyphs and stuff are going to be gone on the side of like AD carries or just squishier champions as well. Now, one of the things I also want to mention that they said was crit runes are going to no longer be in this game at all. So you know those infamous trades where someone will take like a single crit rune and they'll crit 3 times in a fight and like win the trade because of that 1% crit rune? That'll be gone. And now again, as an AD carry player, I have to admit I'm a little bit, not salty, but just a little bit, not even upset, just kind of maybe disappointed or bummed out, because as you know, if you've been around long enough, I like playing hyperspeed Jhin from time to time. And after they took the crit out of Trinity Force, one of the ways you could still build the exact same build but still have 100% crit chance was then taking 20% crit chance runes, and then as such you'll still have the 100% with the items and still get the Ghost Blade, still get the Trinity Force, still take Storm Raiders, still take Ghosts, still be able to do all that fun stuff. That's a really fun way to play Jhin. You probably don't want to risk it in a ranked game unless you know you're going to do well, but if you're in a for fun game mode or ARAM or whatever, it gives you just a really crap ton of movement speed. It's like a Jinx passive on every auto attack, plus the fact that he gets a bunch of movement speed when he crits on the 4th auto, and it's just really fun. If you don't know what hyperspeed Jhin is, go look it up. It's a pretty fun playstyle. That is not dead, because there are other ways you can still play hyperspeed Jhin, but that is one of the ways to play him that is no longer going to be a thing, as well as if you just took crit chance or crit strike or just crit any runes whatsoever. So if you're like Yasuo player that used to take those, they're just going to be gone. Now, there are going to be other things that you can probably use instead that might even be better, but those are going away from the game. Now, when it comes to theory crafting, right? Because I'm someone, for example, that like to take things like full attack damage runes or full health scaling runes on tanks, so that way I could build more like armor items that don't have health and still be getting health from somewhere else. Full just attack speed runes, because once they nerfed Jinx so much in Season 5, if you take a full attack speed rune page on Jinx, you can pretty much play Season 5 Jinx again, pre-nerfs, but that's like a video for another time. I'm getting off topic. If you're someone that likes to theory craft, you didn't like standard rune page, there's a certain way you wanted to play the game, a certain stat you like to load up on, because that's how you just like to do things, whether it covered a weakness or whatever your reasoning is. Since those are going away, they did want to make it so that you still could kind of theory craft with this new system, and you kind of can. So even though AD carries, for example, might like the precision tree, you have a second tree of runes that you can also take. That you can go instead with the inspiration, or you can go with something else over there, and still maybe be able to theory craft that way. However, you don't actually have to do anything whatsoever. Like I mentioned earlier, you will have the default rune page on every champion, and as such, if you're someone that doesn't want to go against the grind, you don't want to put in any work in terms of theory crafting or something like that, you will actually still be fine. Now in conclusion, for me personally, and this is my opinion, this isn't law or fact by the way, whatsoever, I do agree and do think the new rune system will be good for the game. If the old system's outdated, it definitely needed some work, and this is a step in the right direction if nothing else. But on top of that, it will also keep the game fresh, because we're going into 8 years now of League of Legends, and they want League of Legends to last for a long time. So stuff like this is necessary to help League evolve, or at least change enough that it's fresh enough for it to continue lasting and not get stale. However, personally, I kind of, for what I've seen so far, am not too thrilled about the new rune system. I'm the kind of guy that kind of did like, oh, I just wanted like a certain stat or a certain stats, and that's just how I wanted to play. For example, when I first started playing, I was terrible at last hitting, so I wanted my full attack damage rune page because I just wanted the extra AD to help me with last hitting until I got better with last hitting on my own. I was one of those people that just wanted stats. I didn't want all this extra, you know, pick a certain moment, have a high impact moment, or whatever the new system's going to do. However, I'm not going to put down the new system until I actually get my hands on it, because I might be thoroughly surprised by something new. So ultimately, I'm not necessarily looking forward to it, but I'm not against being surprised by something and ultimately then liking this because of it. So in the comment section down below, because we're at the conclusion of this video now, feel free to predict what you think will be good about this new system, if you're someone that actually is going to miss the old system instead. And on top of that, like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, is there a certain champion or something you want me to test for you on the PBE when this hits tomorrow? But that's all for this video, so thank you so much for watching this video if you did. Feel free to like, comment, and subscribe, as well as share this video if you so choose. But I don't know which video will be next, because life will be quite a mess. So until next time, take care from the Fire Godai FS. Thank you for watching.